All right, welcome. Today we are diving deep into a modern day paradox that, believe it or not, unpacks a fascinating world of psychology, strategy, and what it really means to be human. I mean, it's a real head scratcher, isn't it? When you have access to literally the finest food on the entire planet, why would you pull up to the Golden Arches? And that's the exact question we're going to try and answer. At its heart, this whole thing is a story about contrast. It's the paradox of having unlimited options and yet choosing something completely, utterly common. And it's this jarring image that holds all the really interesting answers. I mean, just look at this breakdown. On one side, you've got the world of private chefs, Michelin star meals that cost more than a small car. And on the other, a Big Mac and fries. This choice, it's not really about the food, is it? There's something much, much deeper going on here. Okay, so where do we even start to look for an answer? Well, our first theory suggests the answer isn't in their bank account, it's in their head. We're going to go inside the billionaire's brain to try and understand the immense pressure of their daily lives. So, the key concept here is something called decision fatigue. And this is a concept you've probably felt yourself, but imagine it on a global scale. You know, the idea is that your brain is kind of like a muscle, and after making countless high-stakes decisions all day long, it just gets exhausted. And this is where it all clicks. Imagine you've spent your entire day making these huge, high-stakes decisions about corporate strategy or multi-million-dollar investments. The absolute last thing you want is another complicated choice. Choosing a number 3 combo? That's not a decision, that's a vacation for your brain. It's easy, it's predictable, and it takes zero mental energy. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? When your whole life is just one critical choice after another, the simple act of ordering something that's already decided for you, well, that can be a huge relief. But, you know, it's not all about cold, hard psychology. There's something else going on here, something a lot more emotional. This deep-seated craving for just being normal and connecting to a simpler time. Yeah, let's talk about nostalgia. That taste of a McDonald's fry, it's not just salt and potatoes, right? For a lot of people, that's the taste of being a kid again, of simpler times, before all the responsibility and wealth created this strange kind of isolation. It's comfort food in its purest form. And if you look at it this way, you can see how this brand just weaves itself through someone's entire life. You know, from Happy Meals as a kid, to hanging out there after school as a teenager, to grabbing a quick, cheap lunch when you were just starting your career. So for someone who's now a billionaire, that burger is a real, tangible link back to a past they have in common with, well, pretty much everybody. Okay, so that brings us to our third big idea. We've looked at the inner world, the psychology, the emotion. But what if this isn't about feelings or brain fatigue at all? What if this choice is actually a really smart, calculated move, meant for all of us on the outside to see? What if it's a performance? So you gotta ask, right? Is this whole thing just an act? Could grabbing a burger in public actually be a brilliant PR move? This gets us to a really interesting concept: performative relatability. Basically, it's the idea that super wealthy, powerful people will deliberately do normal stuff in public to try and bridge that huge gap between them and the rest of us to make themselves seem more, well, grounded and accessible. So, the key here is that this isn't random. It's like a playbook. First, you gotta be seen. The whole act is public, easy to get a photo of. Second, the act itself sends a powerful signal. Hey, I'm just like you. And finally, boom, you're shaping the story about you, fighting that classic out-of-touch billionaire stereotype. All right, so we've looked at this from a few different angles. What's the takeaway? What does a billionaire eating a burger really tell us about wealth, society, and our fundamental need to connect with each other? Okay, so let's recap what we've got. It could be for psychological relief, a way to just escape the constant decision-making. It might be for emotional comfort, you know, chasing that nostalgia for a simpler past. It could totally be a savvy branding move. Or, and hey, we can't rule this out, maybe they just really, really like the taste. So in the end, that burger is way more than just food. It becomes a symbol of consistency. No matter where you are in the world, a Big Mac tastes like a Big Mac. And when your life is all about massive change and, let's be honest, probably a lot of isolation, that kind of predictability is super grounding. And this quote, I think it just perfectly captures the heart of it. Being extremely wealthy creates this huge distance between you and almost everyone else. But something we all share, even something as simple as a burger, that can build a little bridge right across that gap.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. It flips the whole question around. It's not about what you'd buy if you had everything. It's about what simple, normal thing you'd find yourself missing. Thanks for sticking with us for this one.